The sky turned dark at exactly 3 in the afternoon. It was not clouds. It was not an eclipse. It was something much worse. Tay stood on the rooftop of the United Nations building in New York City. He was a tall man with tired eyes and gray hair. For 20 years, he had served as Earth's chief ambassador. He had solved wars between nations. He had stopped conflicts that could have killed millions. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. Above him, stretching from horizon to horizon, was a ship. It was so large that the human mind could not fully understand its size. The ship blocked out the sun. Its shadow covered entire cities. Smaller ships, each one the size of a mountain, floated around it like fish swimming near a whale. Tay's phone rang. It was General Hanna from the Global Defense Council. "Are you seeing this?" Her voice was calm, but Tay could hear the tension underneath. "The whole world is seeing this," Tay replied. "What do we know?" "What? Nothing good." They appeared from nowhere. One moment the sky was clear. The next moment, they were here. "Our satellites are going crazy. Our radars cannot even measure the size of the main ship." Tay watched as one of the smaller ships descended toward the city. It moved slowly, almost lazily, as if it had all the time in the world. People in the streets below were screaming and running. Cars crashed into each other. The sound of chaos rose up to the rooftop like a wave. "They are landing something," Tay said into the phone. "We see it. Do not engage. I repeat, do not engage. We need to understand what we are dealing with." The smaller ship stopped about 500 meters above Central Park. A beam of blue light shot down from its bottom. In the light, a figure descended. It was tall, maybe 3 meters high. It had 4 arms and skin that looked like polished silver. Its eyes were completely black, like 2 holes into empty space. Tay ended the call and ran. He needed to be there. He needed to speak for humanity. By the time he reached Central Park, the military had already formed a circle around the alien. Soldiers pointed their weapons at it. But the creature did not seem concerned. It stood perfectly still, waiting. "I am Ambassador Tay," he announced as he pushed through the line of soldiers. "I speak for the people of Earth." The alien turned its head toward him. When it spoke, its voice came from everywhere at once, as if the air itself was speaking. "You speak for all humans." "Yes." "Good. Then you will hear our message." The alien raised one of its 4 arms. A hologram appeared in the air above them. It showed the galaxy, billions of stars spinning in a great spiral. One tiny dot near the edge of the spiral began to glow red. "This is your star. This is your world. For 10,000 years, the Galactic Council has watched your species. We watched you crawl from caves. We watched you build cities. We watched you split the atom and reach your moon." The hologram zoomed in on Earth. Tay could see the continents, the oceans, the thin layer of atmosphere that kept them all alive. "The Council has decided," the alien continued. "Your species is dangerous. You fight among yourselves. You destroy your own world. You create weapons of terrible power. If you are allowed to reach the stars, you will bring war and destruction to the galaxy." Tay felt cold fear spreading through his body. "What does the Council want?" "Surrender. Complete and total. You will give up all weapons. You will give up all space technology. Your leaders will submit to Council rule. Your people will be managed. And if we refuse?" The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. "Look up, human. Count the ships. Each one carries enough power to burn your world to ash. We have destroyed species older and stronger than yours. We have ended civilizations that lasted for millions of years. Your little planet would take us less than a day." More military vehicles were arriving. Tay could hear helicopters in the distance. News drones flew overhead, broadcasting everything to the world. Billions of people were watching this moment. "How long do we have to decide?" Tay asked. 72 hours, 3 of your days. After that, if you have not surrendered, we will begin the cleansing." The alien turned and walked back toward the beam of blue light. Before it stepped in, it looked back at Tay. We have done this many times before. Every species thinks they are special. Every species thinks they can fight. They are all wrong. Be smart, human. Surrender. It is your only chance to survive. The light took the alien back up to the ship. A few minutes later, the ship rose higher into the sky and joined the others. Tay stood alone in the middle of Central Park. The soldiers around him were silent. The world was silent. Everyone was waiting for someone to say something. His phone rang again. It was Hana. Get to the bunker. World leaders are gathering. We need to decide what to do. What is there to decide? Tay asked. You saw those ships. We cannot fight that. There was a pause. When Hana spoke again, her voice was different. There was something in it that Tay had never heard before. It sounded almost like excitement. Come to the bunker, Tay. There are things you do not know, things that no one knows. I think it is time we showed the world what we have been hiding. The call ended. Tay looked up at the massive ships floating above Earth. The aliens were confident. They had every reason to be. They had conquered countless worlds. They had never lost. But as Tay walked toward the waiting car, he remembered something his grandmother used to say. She had survived a war when she was young. She had seen her country burned and rebuilt. She used to tell him that humans were like grass. You could burn the field, but the roots stayed alive underground, and when the fire passed, the grass grew back stronger than before. He hoped she was right. The drive to the bunker took 3 hours. It was hidden deep under a mountain, in a place that officially did not exist. When Tay arrived, he found the leaders of every major nation already there. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, scientists. They all looked scared. Except for Hana. She stood at the front of the room, in front of a massive screen. On the screen was an image that made Tay's heart stop. It was a ship. A human ship. But it was huge. Almost as big as the alien vessels above. And there was not just one. There were hundreds of them. Where? Tay could not finish the question. Hana smiled. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of a predator that had been pretending to be prey. 40 years ago, an alien ship crashed in the Pacific Ocean. We recovered it. We studied it. We learned its secrets. She pressed a button, and the image changed to show factories, hidden underwater and inside mountains, building more ships. The aliens thought they were watching us. They had no idea we were preparing for them. President Day of Korea stood up. Are you saying we can fight? I am saying we have been waiting for this moment for 40 years. Every nation here has contributed. We have weapons. We have ships. We have soldiers trained in secret. Hana's smile grew wider. The aliens expect us to surrender. They expect us to beg. But humanity does not beg. Tay looked around the room. The fear on the faces of the world leaders was changing. It was becoming something else. Hope. Anger. Determination. What is the plan? He asked. First, we go silent. We give them nothing. No surrender. No negotiation. No fear. Let them wonder what we are doing. Let them get nervous. Hana turned off the screen. Then, when they least expect it, we show them why they should have left us alone. Outside, the alien ships floated in the sky, waiting for humanity's surrender. They had no idea what was coming. The first day passed in silence. Commander Vex stood on the observation deck of the Council flagship. His silver skin reflected the blue lights of the control panels around him. Below him, through the transparent floor, he could see the planet called Earth. It was a beautiful world, covered in blue oceans and green land. It reminded him of his own home, a planet he had not seen in 200 years. Still nothing? He asked his communications officer. Nothing, Commander. No transmissions, no signals. Their entire planet has gone dark. Vex found this strange. In his long career, he had overseen the surrender of 17 worlds. The pattern was always the same. First came the fear, the desperate messages begging for mercy. Then came the anger, the threats and promises of revenge that both sides knew were empty. Finally came the acceptance, the broken voices agreeing to whatever terms the council demanded. But Earth was different. Earth was silent. Perhaps their communication systems failed, suggested Officer Nara, a younger member of his crew. She had only been part of 2 surrenders before this one. All of them? At the same time? No. Vex walked to the window and looked down at the planet. They are planning something. What could they possibly plan? They have no ships. Their weapons are primitive. They cannot even leave their own solar system. And yet they are not afraid. Vex turned to face his crew. Does that not concern you? No one answered. On Earth, the silence was not empty. It was full of action. In the bunker under the mountain, General Hana had not slept in 36 hours. Around her, hundreds of officers worked at computer stations, coordinating the largest military operation in human history. Status report, she ordered. Colonel Jin looked up from his screen. Pacific Fleet is in position. 12 carriers, 40 destroyers, and 200 support vessels. They are hidden under the thermal layer. The aliens cannot detect them. Mountain bases? All 27 bases are ready. Ships are fueled and armed. Pilots are standing by. Good. Hana walked to a large map table in the center of the room. It showed the entire planet, with small dots representing every human military unit. There were thousands of them, hidden in places the aliens had never thought to look. Ambassador Tay entered the room. He looked tired, but there was a new energy in his eyes. I just finished briefing the world leaders, he said. They have agreed to the plan. Every nation is with us, even after they understood the risks, especially after they understood the risks. President Day said something interesting. He said that humans have always been willing to die for freedom. What makes us different is that we are also willing to kill for it. Hana nodded. It was a dark truth, but it was still true. High above the earth, Commander Vex grew more worried with each passing hour. He had sent scouts to fly over the major cities. The cities were quiet. People stayed in their homes. Factories were closed. It looked like the entire planet was holding its breath. This is wrong, he said to himself. This is all wrong. He called his senior officers to a meeting. They gathered in the command center, a dozen of the most experienced soldiers in the council fleet. What do we know about these humans? Vex asked. Officer Beck, the head of intelligence, pulled up files on his tablet. They are a young species. They have existed for only 200,000 years. They develop technology very quickly, much faster than most species. They have a history of extreme violence, mostly against each other. What about their military capabilities? Primitive. Their most advanced weapons are nuclear devices. Powerful against themselves, but useless against our shields. Their aircraft cannot reach our ships. Their missiles are too slow to track us. They have no space combat ability at all. Then why am I afraid? The officers looked at each other. No one wanted to answer. We have studied them for 10,000 years, Vex continued. In that time, we have seen them do things that no other species has done. They survived ice ages. They survived plagues that killed half their population. They survived wars that should have ended them. Every time we thought they would destroy themselves, they came back stronger. But they have never faced the council, Officer Beck said. No species survives the council. Perhaps. Vex walked to the window again. Send another message. Tell them they have 48 hours left. And increase our patrols. I want to know what they are doing down there. The message was sent. Earth did not respond. In a hidden base deep under the Pacific Ocean, Captain Su prepared his ship for launch. The ship was called the Tiger. It was 300 meters long, armed with weapons that used technology stolen from the crashed alien vessel 40 years ago. Su had trained for this moment for 15 years. He had given up everything else. He had no wife, no children, no life outside of this mission. And he was not alone. Hundreds of other captains, in hundreds of other ships, were doing the same thing. All systems ready, reported Lieutenant Mina, his second in command. We are just waiting for the order. How is the crew? Nervous, excited, ready to fight. Mina paused. Do you think we can win? Sue thought about the question. The truth was, he did not know. The aliens had conquered entire galaxies. They had destroyed civilizations that were old, when humans were still living in caves. The odds were not good. "I think we have to try," he finally said. "I think that is what makes us human. We fight even when we cannot win. And sometimes, we win anyway." "Yes, sometimes we do." On the second day, Commander Vex made a decision. "Send down landing parties," he ordered. "I want ground reports. I want to know what these humans are doing." 12 shuttles descended through the atmosphere. They landed in different cities around the world. New York, Beijing, Moscow, Seoul, Paris. Each shuttle carried 100 soldiers, armed with the best weapons the Council could provide. The soldiers expected resistance. They expected to be attacked the moment they stepped out of their ships. Instead, they found empty streets. In Seoul, Squad Leader Tal walked through the abandoned downtown area. The buildings around him were silent. Cars sat in the streets, empty and still. It was like the entire city had vanished. "Where are they?" one of his soldiers asked. "I do not know. Stay alert." They searched for hours. They found nothing. No people, no bodies, no sign of where everyone had gone. Finally, as the sun began to set, Tal saw something. A single human, standing in the middle of a wide street. It was an old woman, small and thin, wearing simple clothes. Tal approached her carefully. "Where is everyone? Where have your people gone?" The old woman smiled. It was a strange smile, calm and knowing. "They are preparing," she said in perfect council language. "Preparing for what?" "For you." Before Tal could respond, his communication device started screaming with alarms. All across the planet, the landing parties were reporting the same thing. Energy signatures, thousands of them, coming from underground, coming from under the oceans, coming from inside mountains. "Commander!" Tal shouted into his device. "We need to leave. We need to leave now." But it was too late. The first human ship burst out of the ocean near Tokyo, then another near New York, then another and another and another. Within minutes, hundreds of ships rose from their hiding places, forming into attack formations. On the flagship, Commander Vex watched in horror as his screens filled with contacts. "That is impossible," Officer Nara whispered. "They have no ships. They cannot have ships." But they did have ships. Ships that matched the Council's technology. Ships that were armed with weapons that could hurt them. Ships that were now rising to fight. Vex finally understood. The silence had not been fear. It had not been surrender. It had been preparation. The humans had been waiting. And now, they were ready to show the galaxy what they really were. "All ships," Vex commanded, his voice steady despite his fear. "Battle positions. Raise shields. Prepare for combat." The war for Earth had begun. Captain Sue gripped the controls of the Tiger as his ship burst through the surface of the Pacific Ocean. Water exploded around him in a massive fountain that rose hundreds of meters into the air. The ship's engines screamed with power as it climbed toward the alien fleet. "All systems active," Lieutenant Mina reported. "Weapons online. Shields at full power." "How many of us made it out?" Mina checked her screens. 112 ships from the Pacific Fleet alone. More are launching from the Atlantic. Mountain bases are reporting successful launches. Total count is, "Commander, we have 347 ships in the air." Sue allowed himself a small smile. 40 years of preparation. 40 years of secrets. And now, finally, they could show the galaxy what humanity had built in the shadows. "Open channel to all ships," he ordered. "Channel open. This is Captain Sue of the Tiger. Form up in attack squadrons. Remember your training. Remember why we are here. Our families are down there. Our homes are down there. Everything we love is down there." He paused, taking a deep breath. "Today, we show them that humans do not surrender. Today, we fight." The response came from hundreds of voices, speaking as one. "We fight." On the Council flagship, Commander Vex could not believe what he was seeing. The screens around him showed the human ships rising from all over the planet. They were not primitive vessels held together with basic technology. They were warships. Real warships, built with knowledge that should have been impossible for such a young species to possess. Where did they get this technology? Officer Beck demanded. This should not exist. We have been watching them. We would have seen this. Clearly, we did not see everything. Vex studied the formations on his screen. The human ships were organizing quickly, moving with a discipline that suggested years of practice. They have been preparing for this. For decades. Maybe longer. What are your orders, Commander? Vex considered his options. The Council fleet had over 1,000 ships. The humans had less than 400. By numbers alone, the Council should win easily. But something felt wrong. The humans had hidden an entire fleet from Council surveillance. What else had they hidden? All ships maintain defensive positions. Do not engage until we understand what we are facing. Commander, our orders were clear. We are to destroy any resistance. Our orders assumed they could not resist. Vex turned to face Officer Beck. Look at those ships. Tell me honestly, do they look like they cannot resist? 1. Beck was silent. The first shots came from the human side. Captain Nari commanded the ship called the Phoenix. She was young, only 32 years old. But she had trained for combat since she was 18. Her ship led the first attack wing. 50 vessels aimed at the weakest point of the Council formation. Lock targets, she ordered. Main guns ready. Targets locked. Ready to fire. Fire. 50 beams of blue energy cut through space. They struck the shields of a Council destroyer, and for a moment, nothing happened. The shields held, then they broke. The Council ship exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from Earth. Pieces of the destroyed vessel scattered in all directions. On the flagship, every officer stared at their screens in shock. That is not possible, Nara whispered. Our shields should have held. Their weapons should not be able to penetrate. Send a message to all ships, Vex commanded. The humans have advanced weapons. All vessels are to raise shields to maximum power. Return fire immediately. The battle began in earnest. General Hana watched the fight from the command bunker. The holographic display in front of her showed every ship on both sides. Green dots for human vessels, red dots for the enemy. The dots moved around each other in a complex dance of death. Tiger Squadron has engaged the enemy left flank. Phoenix Squadron is hitting their rear guard. Colonel Jin read the reports as they came in. We have lost 7 ships. Enemy has lost 12. The exchange rate is good, Hana observed. Better than we expected. But they still outnumber us, 3-1. I know. That is why we have Phase 2. Hana picked up a communication device. Admiral Yuna. Are you in position? A woman's voice responded, calm and clear despite the chaos of battle around her. In position and ready, just give the word. Hold for now. Let them commit their forces. Ambassador Tay stood nearby, watching the battle with a mixture of horror and hope. How long can our ships hold out? Aft. Aft. How long can our ships hold out? Long enough, Hana replied. Our pilots are fighting for their homes, their families. They will not give up easily. And we still have surprises for our friends up there. In space, Captain Su found himself in the middle of a fight for survival. Enemy fire flashed around the Tiger. His shields absorbed hit after hit, the energy levels dropping with each impact. But his crew kept firing, kept fighting, kept moving. Shields at 60%, Mina reported. We cannot take much more of this. Then we stopped taking hits. Su pushed the ship into a tight roll, dodging a missile that would have destroyed them. All power to engines. We are going through them, not around them. The Tiger accelerated directly toward a group of enemy ships. It was insane. It was suicide. It was exactly what the aliens did not expect. Su fired every weapon he had. The enemy ships scattered, trying to avoid the crazy human vessel flying straight at them. In the confusion, 3 more Council ships exploded. That is how we do it, Su said. They expect us to fight like them. We do not. We fight like humans. The battle lasted for 6 hours. By the end, the space around Earth was filled with wreckage. Both sides had lost ships. Both sides had lost lives. But the human fleet was still fighting. And the Council fleet was beginning to pull back. Commander Vex could not understand what was happening. His ships were more advanced. His crews were more experienced. But the humans fought like nothing he had ever seen. They took risks that should have killed them. They attacked positions that should have been impossible to breach. They refused to retreat even when outnumbered. "We have lost 200 ships," Officer Beck reported, his voice hollow. "The humans have lost 120. How is that possible? We have better technology. We have more ships. They fight without fear of death, Commander. Our soldiers are trained to survive. Their soldiers are trained to win. Even if they die doing it." Vex thought about this. In all his years of service, he had never encountered a species like this. Most intelligent beings valued their own lives above all else. They would surrender rather than die. They would run rather than fight. But humans were different. Humans would die for an idea. They would sacrifice everything for people they had never met. They would fight against impossible odds simply because they believed they should. It was terrifying. "Pull back to defensive positions," Vex ordered. "We need to rethink our strategy. The Council will not be pleased. They expected a quick victory. The Council is not here. I am. And I will not throw away more lives until we understand what we are fighting." On Earth, the news of the battle spread quickly. People came out of their shelters and looked up at the sky. They could see the flashes of light where the battle was being fought. They could see that their ships were still there, still fighting. For the first time since the aliens arrived, humans did not feel afraid. In the command bunker, Hana received reports from the front line. Sue's squadron had destroyed 15 enemy ships before pulling back to regroup. Nari's wing had held off a major assault and was still combat ready. Across the entire fleet, morale was higher than ever. "They are scared," Hana said, reading the latest intelligence reports. "The Council forces are scared of us." "They should be," Tay replied. "We have shown them something they never expected. We have shown them that humans can fight. We have done more than that." Hana looked at the holographic display, at the enemy ships clustering together in defensive formations. "We have shown them that humans can win." She picked up her communication device again. "Admiral Yuna, begin Phase 2. Understood. Phase 2 is go." Far from the main battle, hidden behind the moon, another human fleet waited. This fleet was smaller, only 50 ships, but these ships were different. They were faster, they were more heavily armed, and they were about to change everything. Admiral Yuna sat in the command chair of the ship called Revenge. It was a fitting name for what they were about to do. "All ships, prepare to jump," she ordered. "Target. The enemy flagship. Jump coordinates locked. Execute." The 50 ships vanished from behind the moon. They reappeared directly above the Council flagship, weapons already firing. Commander Vex had just seconds to realize what was happening. New contacts on his screens. Weapons fire hitting his ship from above. Shields failing faster than they could be restored. "Emergency power to shields," he shouted. "All ships, defend the flagship." But it was too late. The human ships were too fast, too accurate. They had studied the Council ships. They knew exactly where to hit them. The flagship shook as its main engine exploded. Lights flickered and died. Emergency alarms screamed in every corridor. Admiral Yuna's voice came through on the communication channel. "Council Commander, this is Admiral Yuna of the Human Defense Fleet. Your flagship is disabled. Your fleet is in chaos. Surrender now, and we will spare your lives." There was a long pause. Then Vex's voice replied, tired and defeated. "You have won this battle, humans. But this is not over. The Council will send more ships. Many more. Let them come," Yuna replied. "We will be waiting." On Earth, people cheered. In the command bunker, soldiers embraced each other. Against all odds, Humanity had won the first battle. But Hana did not celebrate. She knew Vex was right. This was only the beginning. The Council would not accept defeat. They would return with more ships, more soldiers, more weapons, and when they did, humanity would be ready. 3 weeks had passed since the first battle. The Council fleet had retreated to the edge of the solar system, licking its wounds and waiting for reinforcements. Earth was safe, but everyone knew it was only temporary. In the command bunker, General Hana stood before the leaders of every nation on Earth. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, admirals, they had come together to decide humanity's next move. We won the first battle, Hana began, but we lost 123 ships. That is nearly half of our fleet. We cannot afford another battle like that. President Day stood up. Then what do you suggest? We cannot simply wait for them to attack again. No, we cannot. Hana pressed a button, and a holographic map of the solar system appeared. That is why I am proposing we attack first. The room went silent. Attack? One of the prime ministers asked. Attack where? Their fleet is massive. Even after our victory, they still outnumber us. Their main fleet, yes. But their supply lines do not. Hana pointed to several locations on the map. Our intelligence shows that the Council ships need fuel and ammunition. They get these supplies from stations scattered throughout the galaxy. If we destroy those stations, their fleet cannot fight. Admiral Yuna stepped forward. She had become a hero after disabling the enemy flagship. Her face was known to every human on Earth now. We have identified 3 key supply stations within striking distance, she explained. If we hit all 3 at once, the Council fleet will be trapped here. No fuel, no weapons, no way to get home. And then what? President Day asked. Then we give them a choice. Leave our solar system forever, or stay and die. The debate lasted for hours. Some leaders wanted to negotiate. Some wanted to hide and hope the Council forgot about them. But in the end, the vote was clear. Humanity would not wait. Humanity would not hide. Humanity would hunt. Captain Sue received his orders 3 days later. His mission was to lead the attack on the closest supply station, located on a small moon in the outer solar system. How many ships do we have? He asked Lieutenant Mina as they prepared for departure. 25. It is not a lot. It will have to be enough. Sue looked out the window of the Tiger at the other ships gathered nearby. Each one had survived the first battle. Each one had proven it could fight. We have something they do not have. We have a reason to win. What reason? Our children are back on Earth. Our parents, our friends, everyone we love. The aliens fight for conquest. We fight for survival. That makes all the difference. The fleet launched at midnight, Earth time. 25 ships flying into the darkness of space, heading toward an enemy that still did not understand what they were facing. At the same time, 2 other fleets launched from different locations. Captain Nari led 30 ships toward a station near the asteroid belt. Commander Tay, who had traded his ambassador title for a military command, led another 20 ships toward a station hidden in the rings of a gas giant. 3 attacks. 3 chances to cripple the enemy. 3 opportunities to prove that the first victory was not a mistake. Commander Vex had survived the attack on his flagship. His ship was damaged but not destroyed. Now he sat in a temporary command center on one of the surviving cruisers, trying to figure out what to do next. The Council is sending reinforcements, Officer Beck reported. A second fleet, twice the size of ours. They will arrive in 30 days. 30 days. Can we hold that long? Unknown. Our fuel reserves are running low. If we do not receive supplies soon, we will be forced to retreat. Vex stared at the map on his screen. The humans were quiet again. Too quiet. Just like before the first battle. They are planning something, he said. I can feel it. They are probably still celebrating their victory. Primitive species always do. No. Vex shook his head. These humans are not primitive. We made that mistake once. We will not make it again. Increase patrols around all supply routes. If the humans are planning an attack, I want to know about it. But Vex was already too late. Captain Su's fleet reached the supply station in 12 hours. It floated in orbit around a frozen moon, a massive structure filled with fuel tanks and ammunition storage. 20 council ships guarded it. But they were not ready for what was coming. Attack formation, Su ordered. Target the defensive ships first. Once they are gone, we destroy the station. What about prisoners? Su thought about the question. The aliens had come to enslave humanity. They had threatened to burn Earth to ash. They would have killed billions of innocent people without a second thought. No prisoners, he decided. This is war. The attack was fast and brutal. The human ships hit the defensive fleet from 3 directions at once. The council ships tried to form a defensive line, but they were too slow. Within 30 minutes, all 20 defenders were destroyed. The station tried to surrender. They sent messages begging for mercy. Su ignored them. Fire on the station, he ordered. All weapons. The station exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from millions of kilometers away. Fuel and ammunition went up together, creating an explosion that destroyed everything within 100 kilometers. Station destroyed, Mina reported. No survivors. Move to the secondary target. We are not done yet. Across the solar system, the other attacks were going just as well. Captain Nari's fleet destroyed the second station with minimal losses. Commander Tay captured the third station intact, taking hundreds of council soldiers prisoner. Within 24 hours, all 3 supply stations were gone. The council fleet was trapped. Commander Vex received the news in silence. 3 stations, decades of supplies, thousands of soldiers. All gone in a single day. How did they know? Officer Beck demanded. How did they know where to strike? They learned, Vex said quietly. They studied us, just as we studied them. But they learned faster. What do we do now? Vex looked at his fleet. His ships were low on fuel. His soldiers were scared. Morale had collapsed after the news of the station attacks. Many of his officers were already talking about retreat. But retreat to where? The nearest friendly territory was months away. With their current fuel, they would not make it halfway. We have 2 choices, Vex finally said. We can try to run and die in the emptiness of space, or we can stay and fight. Fight with what? Our supplies are gone. We still have ships, we still have weapons, and we still have our pride. Vex stood up straighter. We are the Council. We have never lost a war. We will not let a species this young be the first to defeat us. But even as he spoke, Vex knew the truth. The humans were not going to give them a chance to fight. The humans were going to keep attacking, keep destroying, keep hunting until there was nothing left. And he was right. Over the next 2 weeks, human ships appeared everywhere. They hit patrol squadrons. They destroyed cargo ships. They attacked any council vessel that dared to move alone. The council fleet began to shrink. Not from great battles, but from constant small attacks. A ship here. A ship there. Death by 1,000 cuts. Captain Su led many of these raids. His ship, the Tiger, became famous among both humans and aliens. The council soldiers called it the Ghost, because it would appear from nowhere, strike, and vanish before anyone could respond. Another supply convoy destroyed, Mina reported after their latest raid. That makes 15 this week. How is our fleet doing? 2 ships lost. 40 crew members. Su nodded. The losses hurt, but they were winning. Every convoy destroyed, every ship damaged, brought them closer to victory. Message from General Hana, the communications officer announced. She wants to speak with all ship commanders. Su opened the channel. Hana's face appeared on his screen, looking tired but determined. Commanders, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that our attacks have been effective. The Council fleet is down to less than 300 ships. They are trapped and desperate. And the bad news? Nari asked. The Council reinforcement fleet is coming faster than expected. They will arrive in 15 days, not 30. We need to finish this before they get here. Finish how? Hana's expression hardened. We are going to attack the main fleet. All of our remaining ships against all of theirs. One final battle to decide everything. The commanders were silent. They had all known this moment would come. They had all trained for it. But now that it was here, the weight of it settled on their shoulders like a heavy stone. When? Sue asked. In 3 days. Prepare your ships and your crews. This is the moment we have been waiting for. This is our chance to end this war forever. Sue looked around at his crew. They were exhausted. They had been fighting for weeks without rest. But in their eyes, he saw something that made him proud. He saw determination. He saw courage. He saw the spirit that had carried humanity through countless wars and disasters. You heard the general, he said. We have 3 days to get ready for the biggest fight of our lives. Let us make sure we are ready to win. On the council flagship, Commander Vex also prepared for the final battle. He had less than 300 ships left. His soldiers were tired and afraid. But they were still the council. They were still the conquerors of 1,000 worlds. If we are going to die, he told his officers, then we will die as warriors. We will make the humans pay for every ship they destroy. We will make them remember this battle for 1,000 years. 2 fleets, 2 species, 1 war that would decide the future of the galaxy. The final battle was coming. The day of the final battle arrived with an orange sunrise over Earth. People around the world stopped what they were doing and looked up at the sky. They knew their entire future was about to be decided in the darkness above them. Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of her ship, the Revenge. Around her, the entire human fleet had gathered. 218 ships. It was everything humanity had left. Every vessel that could fly, every weapon that could fire, every pilot who could fight. Open a channel to all ships, she ordered. Channel open, Admiral. Yuna took a deep breath. She had never been good at speeches. She was a soldier, not a politician. But today, her words needed to reach every human fighting for their world. Soldiers of Earth, she began. Today we face our greatest challenge. The enemy outnumbers us. Their ships are larger. Their weapons are older than our entire civilization. By every measure, we should lose this battle. She paused, looking at the faces of her crew. They were young, most of them. Some were barely old enough to be called adults. But they had chosen to be here. They had chosen to fight. But I want you to remember something. 40 years ago, an alien ship crashed on our world. The Council thought we were too primitive to understand their technology. They were wrong. We studied it. We learned from it. We built ships and weapons that they never imagined we could create. She pointed toward the distant enemy fleet, visible now as a cluster of lights against the stars. They thought we would surrender. We did not. They thought one battle would break us. It made us stronger. They thought we were weak because we care about each other, but that caring is our greatest strength. Her voice rose with passion. Today we fight not just for ourselves, but for every human who will ever live, for our children and our children's children, for every generation that will look back at this moment and ask, were our ancestors brave enough to win? Let us show them the answer. The fleet responded with a roar of voices across every communication channel. 218 ships surged forward, engines burning bright, racing toward the enemy. Commander Vex watched the human fleet approach. Despite everything, despite all the defeats and losses, he felt a strange respect for these creatures. They knew they were outmatched. They knew many of them would die. And still they came, charging toward death with weapons blazing. All ships, form defensive line, he ordered. Let them come to us. The 2 fleets met in the space between Earth and its moon. The battle began with a wave of missiles from both sides, filling the void with fire and metal. Ships exploded. Lives ended. The war that had started with a demand for surrender was reaching its bloody conclusion. Captain Sue flew the Tiger directly into the heart of the enemy formation. Mina worked frantically beside him, managing shields and weapons while Sue handled the flight controls. Enemy cruiser on our left. I see it. Su pulled the ship into a sharp turn, narrowly avoiding a blast that would have destroyed them. He fired back, hitting the cruiser's engine. The enemy ship spun away. Disabled. Another one coming from above? Lock weapons. Locked. Fire. The enemy ship exploded in a ball of blue flame. All around them, similar battles were happening. Human ships darting between larger council vessels, hitting weak points, working together in teams of 3 and 4. The training was paying off. The preparation was paying off. But the council was not giving up easily. Commander Vex led a counterattack against the human center. His remaining battleships formed a wedge and pushed forward, their heavy weapons tearing through human formations. "Admiral, we have lost the 4th Squadron," a voice reported to Yuna. "5th Squadron is taking heavy damage. Hold the line. Do not let them through. We are trying, but they are too strong." Yuna made a decision. It was a risk, but they were running out of options. All ships, execute Pattern 0. Pattern 0 was a desperate move. It required every ship to break formation and attack individually, creating chaos on the battlefield. It was dangerous because it removed all coordination, but it also removed all predictability. The human fleet scattered like a flock of birds disturbed by a predator. Suddenly, council ships had enemies coming from every direction. They could not focus their fire. They could not protect each other. Vex saw his advantage disappear. What are they doing? This makes no sense. But it did make sense, in a way that the council could not understand. Humans did not need orders to work together. They had something better. They had trust. They had grown up in families, in communities, learning to cooperate without being told. They knew instinctively how to support each other. The battle became a swirling mess of individual fights, and in those fights, human courage and creativity gave them the edge they needed. Captain Nari's ship had lost its main weapons early in the battle. Instead of retreating, she flew directly into a council battleship, crashing into its bridge and destroying its command center. She survived, barely, floating in a damaged escape pod while the battleship drifted helplessly. Commander Tay led a group of civilian ships that had been armed with makeshift weapons. They were not real warships, but they were good enough to distract enemy fire while military vessels attacked from behind. General Hana watched from the command bunker on Earth, coordinating where she could but mostly watching in amazement, as human pilots did things she had never imagined possible. "They are fighting like nothing I have ever seen," Colonel Jin said quietly. "They are fighting like humans," Hana replied. "Like they have always fought. With their hearts as much as their weapons." The battle lasted for 8 hours. By the end, the space around Earth was filled with debris from both sides. The Council fleet had been reduced to less than 50 ships, huddled together in a defensive cluster. The human fleet had lost over half its vessels, but the survivors were still fighting. Commander Vex looked at the situation and finally accepted the truth. They had lost. Not just this battle, but the entire war. Humanity had proven something that the Council had never believed possible. A young species, barely out of its own solar system, had defeated the greatest military force in the galaxy. "Open a channel to the human commander," he ordered. "Channel open. Human fleet. This is Commander Vex, of the Galactic Council. We surrender." There was a long pause. Then Admiral Yuna's voice came through, tired but triumphant. "Commander Vex, your surrender is accepted. Order your ships to power down their weapons. Any attempt to attack will be met with immediate destruction." "Understood. All ships, power down weapons." Vex slumped in his chair. 200 years of military service. And this was how it ended. Defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive animals. On Earth, the news spread instantly. People poured into the streets, crying and cheering. Complete strangers embraced each other. Enemies became friends. For one shining moment, all of humanity was united in victory. 1 week later, Commander Vex stood in a meeting room inside the United Nations building. Across from him sat the leaders of humanity: General Hana, Admiral Yuna, Ambassador Tay, and President Day. "The Council reinforcement fleet has turned back," Vex reported. "When they heard of our defeat, They decided not to risk the same fate. Good. Hana leaned forward. Now, let us discuss the future. What do you want? We want the Council to leave humanity alone, forever. We want recognition of our territory and our rights. We want a guarantee that no Council ship will ever threaten our world again. Vex nodded slowly. And what do we get in return? Your lives. Your remaining ships. The chance to go home and tell your council what happened here. Ambassador Tay spoke calmly. But there was steel beneath his words. Consider it mercy. We could destroy you all. We choose not to. There is something else, Admiral Yuna added. We want the Council to know that Earth is under our protection now. Any species that threatens us, any fleet that comes too close, will face the same fate you did. Vex thought about this. The Council had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. They had never faced a challenge they could not crush. Until now. You are asking us to accept humans as equals. No. Hana smiled. And it was not a friendly smile. We are telling you that you will accept us as equals. Or, you will accept us as conquerors. The choice is yours. The negotiations lasted for 3 days. In the end, the Council agreed to every human demand. They had no choice. The alternative was annihilation. On the day the Council fleet finally departed Earth's solar system, Commander Vex sent one final message to his leaders. We made a terrible mistake. We assumed the humans were weak because they were young. We assumed they were divided because they fought among themselves. We were wrong on both counts. They are the most dangerous species we have ever encountered, not because of their weapons or their ships, but because of their spirit. They would rather die than surrender. They fight for each other without being ordered to. They turn their weaknesses into strengths. He paused, looking back at the blue planet that had cost him everything. Do not threaten them again. Do not provoke them. Do not give them a reason to come looking for us. Because if you do, I promise you this, they will not stop until they have conquered the entire galaxy. They are not afraid of us, and that is what makes them terrifying. 1 year later, Ambassador Tay stood on a platform above a crowd of millions. Behind him was a massive structure. Humanity's first interstellar station. Ships from Earth came and went, carrying traders, explorers, and diplomats to the stars. 1 year ago, he announced, we were told to surrender. We were told that resistance was impossible. We were told that humanity would be crushed. He smiled at the crowd. They were wrong. Today, we take our place among the stars. Not as servants, not as slaves, but as equals, as partners, as a species that proved it has the right to exist. Let the galaxy remember this day. Let them remember what happens when you threaten Earth. Let them remember that humans do not surrender. We do not give up. We do not stop fighting until we have won. The Council demanded our surrender. What came next terrified the galaxy, and this is only the beginning. The crowd roared its approval. Ships launched into the sky, carrying humanity's children to worlds that had never seen human feet. The future was bright, full of possibility, full of hope. Earth had not just survived. Earth had awakened, and the galaxy would never be the same. In a distant council chamber, the leaders of 1,000 species watched the human celebration with a mixture of fear and respect. They had thought humans were a problem to be solved. Now they understood the truth. Humanity was not a problem. Humanity was the future, and the future was just beginning.